Hey, and welcome to part 5 in our series of lessons dealing with music theory made easy. I need you to hit like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell. Now, let's recap what we did in our last session. We talked about time signatures, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 time. All right, and it's on down the line. All right, the top number tells us that how many beats there are in a measure. And that 4 at the bottom says that the quarter note gets 1 beat. All right. The top number tells us how many beats there are in a measure. And that 4 at the bottom, if there's a 4 at the bottom, it tells us that the quarter note gets 1 beat. All right. Remember that. Okay. I need you to remember that. All right. Let's move on now to 6/8 time. Okay. 6/8 time. 6/8 time. Now, you still have 6 beats in the measure. That top number, what that top number tells you does not change. There's 6 beats in a measure. You can have 12/8, 12 beats in a measure. 15/8, 15 beats in a measure. But it's that bottom number that changes. Now, the 8 tells me that the 8th note is going to get 1 beat. All right? The 8th note is going to get 1 beat. Okay, one more time. In 6/8 time, the 8th note is going to get 1 beat. All right. Now, 6/8 time, in 6/8 time, the note values change. All right. 6/8 time, the note values change. Now, in 2/4 time, 3/4, 4/4, the quarter note is going to get 1 beat. The half note gets 2 beats. The whole note gets 4 beats. The 8th note gets half beat. The 16th note gets a 4th. All right. But now in 6/8 time, the note values change. All right. Let's look at it. In 6/8 time, we just stated that the 8th note gets 1 beat. In 6/8 time, the quarter note gets 2 beats. In 6/8 time, the half note gets 4 beats. And in the 6/8 time, the dotted half note gets 6 beats. Okay? One more time. In 6/8 time, the 8th note gets 1 beat. The quarter note gets 2 beats. The half note gets 4 beats. And the dotted half note gets 6 beats. All right? I need you to write that down, and I need you to memorize it, because you're going to see this all the way through your music career. All right? All the way through your music career. So, one more time. The 8th note gets 1 beat in 6/8 time. The quarter note gets 2. The half note gets 4. And the dotted half gets 6. All right, let's do a couple of rhythms that deal with 6/8 time, so you can get kind of an understanding as to how 6/8 time works. Because remember now, note values change in 6/8 time. All right, let's put a rhythm up here. Let's see. Now, I need you to look at these 2 measures. Look at these 2 measures. Okay, look at those 2 measures and tell me if there are 6 beats in that measure. Okay, look at those 2 measures and tell me if there is 6 beats in that measure. All right, let's count it. Now, we said in the offset that in 6/8 time, the quarter note gets 2 beats. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in that first measure, there is 6 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The quarter note gets 2 beats. Then your 8th note gets 1 beat. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go to the next measure. Is there 6 beats in this measure? Look at it. And look at your notes on 6/8 time. Is there 6 beats in that measure? All right, let's look at it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I ran out of room. All right. So in 6/8 time, remember I told you that the dotted half note gets 6 beats. All right. The dotted half note gets 6 beats. So you got 6 beats in this measure, 6 beats in this measure. All right. Let's move on. Now that's the essence of 6/8 time. Okay, that's the essence of 6/8 time. And we're gonna do more rhythms in regular time, 2/4, 4/4, 3/4, and we're gonna do more rhythms in 6/8 time. We want to do that so that you can get used to, especially 6/8 time, and so that you can count in regular time and in 6/8 time. All right. So what I want to do now, though, is deal with the dot. Now we had a dotted half note, but we want to deal with the dot behind the note. Okay, the dot behind the note. Okay. Now we're back in regular time. 2/4, 3/4. All right, 4/4. We're back in regular time. Now we're back to where the quarter note gets 1 beat, the half note gets 2 beats, and the whole note gets 4 beats. Okay? We're back in the regular time. We're out of 6/8 time, back into regular time. All right. Now the dot behind the note gets half the value of the note. Okay? The dot behind the note gets half the value of the note. All right? So let's look at the dotted quarter note. Now, the dotted quarter note gets 1 beat. Well, I'm sorry, the quarter note gets 1 beat. Okay? The dot is gonna get half beat. Okay? Because remember, the dot gets half the value of the note. So therefore, a dotted quarter note is going to get 1.5 beats. Why? Because the quarter note gets 1 beat. Half of 1, okay, is half. So here we go. The dotted quarter note is going to get 1.5 beats. Remember that the dot behind the note gets half the value of that note. Let's go to the dotted half note. Remember now, we're in regular time. Not in 6/8 right now. We're in regular time. All right, the dotted half note. Now, the half note itself gets how many beats? 2. So if the dot gets half the value of that note, then the dot is going to get 1 beat. Okay? Remember, the dot gets half the value of the note. So if a half note gets 2 beats and the dot gets half the value of that note, then the dotted half note is equal to 3 beats. Okay? It's equal to 3 beats. The dotted half note is equal to 3 beats. Let's go to the dotted whole note. All right? It's the same thing. That dot gets half the value of the note. So if a whole note in regular time gets 4 beats, that dot is going to get 2 beats. Because 2 is half of 4. So therefore, a dotted whole note is going to get how many beats? 6. All right? So a dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. Dotted half note gets 3 beats. And the dotted whole note is going to get 6 beats. That's the purpose of that dot behind the note. That dot gets half the value of the notes. Now, I know I keep repeating, but I keep repeating so you can get it. The dot gets half the value of the note. So one more time, the dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. The dotted half note gets 3 beats. And the dotted whole note gets 6 beats. All right? Okay. So let's move on now. So let me say this, though, before we move on. If you have any questions about the dot behind the notes, the dotted quarter note, half note, the dotted whole note, if you have any questions about 6/8 time, how to count in 6/8 time, what the note values are in 6/8 time, email me your questions. Okay, email me your questions to musicmadeeasy2020@gmail.com. musicmadeeasy2020@gmail.com. And again, if you ask a question and there's a question I can't answer, believe me, I'll have somebody to come in and answer those questions for you, because I'm not going to tell you that I know everything, because I don't know everything. All right. So just send your questions in, send your comments in. We'd like to hear your comments. Okay. So now let's move on. We've talked about time signatures. We went through 6/8 time. We went through the dot behind the note, the dotted quarter, dotted half, dotted whole note. But there's one thing I wanted to talk to you about in that 6/8 time. Now, in that 6/8 time, the half note gets 4 beats by itself. But then the dotted half note gets 6 beats. Okay? This is 6/8 time now. This is not regular time. This is 6/8 time. So therefore, if the half note in 6/8 time gets 4 beats, okay, 6/8 time, if the half note gets 6/8 time, if the half note in 6/8 time gets 4 beats, that's it. All right, and the dotted half in 6/8 time gets 6 beats. That means the dot got 2 beats. Okay. Again, it's the same principle. That dot is the same principle in regular time. The dot gets half the value of the note. In the 6/8 time, in the case of 6/8 time, then 4 beats in a half note. The half note gets 4 beats. So half of 4 is what? 2. So if the half note gets 4 beats, and you got that dot behind that, that dot is going to get 2 beats. All right. I'm sorry. That's going to be 4. I put 6 down there. That's going to be 4. So therefore, 4 plus 2 is what? 6. All right. That's in 6/8 time. That dot, the value of that dot does not change. It doesn't matter what the time signature is. If there's a dot behind a note, that dot is going to get half the value of that note. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It could be 24/8, 9/8, whatever the case is. That dot is going to get half the value of that note. Okay. So I need you to remember that. All right, let's move on. Now we want to talk about rest. We want to talk about rest. And rest is just that. Rest. If you read music and you come across a sheet of music and you have rest, and we're going to put some rest up there, and you get you get to a part where you have rest, whether it's a whole rest, half rest, whatever, you don't play anything. It's just that. It's silent until you get down the line and maybe to another measure or something where you come back in again. But rest is just that. It is silence. There's nothing going on as far as you are concerned. There's nothing going on. Okay? Nothing going on. So now, let's look at the rest. We're going to look at the rest. The first rest we're going to look at is the whole rest. Okay? The whole rest is at the bottom of the line on the staff. Okay? And we're going to get into this more. The whole rest gets 4 beats. Just like the whole note, the whole rest gets 4 beats. One more time. Just like the whole note, the whole rest gets 4 beats. Let's look at the half rest. All right. The half rest is on top of the line on the staff. All right. Now the half rest is going to get 2 beats like the half note. One more time. The whole rest gets 4 beats like the whole note. The half rest gets 2 beats like the half note. And we're going to get into that, okay, what line it is and all of that. We're going to get into that in our next session. I just want to bring the rest to you. All right, let's go further. Now, this is my version. This is my version of a quarter rest. Remember I said now, it's my version of a quarter rest. Now, what I need you to do is research and look up a quarter rest to see how it actually looks. But this is my version of a quarter rest. All right, here we go. All right. All right, that's my version of a quarter rest, and the quarter rest gets 1 beat like the quarter note. Okay, the quarter rest gets 1 beat like the quarter note. Okay, I need you to remember that the quarter rest gets 1 beat like the quarter note. Then the 8th rest gets 1 beat. Gets a half beat. Okay, the 8th rest gets a half beat like the 8th note. And then the 16th rest, okay, gets 1/4 beat like the 16th note, okay? And it gets a 4th beat. Now, if you notice, the 8th rest, here it is, the 8th rest has one, I guess you call that a flag, like the 8th note. The 16th rest has 2 flags, just like the 16th note, all right? So, we went over the rest, and we're going to go over more in our next session, because we're going to do rhythms that's going to include the rest, okay? So remember, a whole rest gets 4 beats like the whole note. The half rest gets 2 beats like the half note. The 8th rest gets a half beat like the 8th note. The 16th rest gets a 1/4 beat like the 16th, and so on. So next week, in our next session, which will probably be next week, in our next session, we're going to deal more with rest and more with rhythms, okay? Before we move on, because we are going to move on, because there's a lot more that we have to do. All right, we're going to deal with rest, and we're going to put the rest into rhythms that deals with, and we're going to deal with more with the common time. We're going to do a little 6/8 time, but we're going to do more with the common time, all right? So what I need you to do is study. Okay, I need you to study, research on what I was talking about. Just don't take my word for it. Research it. And if you have a question about something that you research that we've discussed, remember, send your questions to musicmadeeasy2020@gmail.com. All right, musicmadeeasy2020@gmail.com, and I'll see you in part 6.